what I like to do is take the wort, I put this lid on it, I take a piece of tape and I tape the lid down. I put the wort in the cooler and I pour the ice over it. I want to make sure that lid's really down. You don't want to get any ice in your wort. Use 2 bags of ice here. Alright, so now our wort has chilled down to 80 degrees. That's the temperature we wanted. You want that to happen fairly quickly, 15 minutes. It's a good time for that. So now what I do is I take the wort out, just like this. I'm going to transfer it to the primary fermenter. And all I've done here is just take a funnel and tape it to this. You slowly pour your wort in. The smell is just great right now. There you have that. Now with the wort transferred into the primary fermenter, we're going to add our water to make 5 1/4 gallons. And what you want to do is draw your little line. I've measured this out beforehand and I know where to stop. I know where 5 1/4 gallons is on this fermenter. Now we've got 5 1/4 gallons of beer here, and we're going to go ahead now and check the gravity, and we use the thief to do this. So all you do with this is you take this, put it down into your beer like this, you come up, sample right there. Once you've got your sample, take your hydrometer, drop it in just like that. Give it a good spin. Now our hydrometer is sitting in there right now. After you spin it, you want to make sure it just stops. Mine is saying 1.074. Then you got to calculate for the water, so it's about 1.078. This recipe calls for 1.065, should be your original gravity, but keep in mind I added an alcohol boost to this. So all said and done, I'm looking at about an 8.5% ale alcohol content level. So you're really only going to need a couple of these to feel dandy. Now that we've established the original gravity of the ale, we're going to go ahead and add the pitchable yeast. What you want to do with this is, let it sit out up to 24 hours to get nice and warm. This will be helpful in the speed process of it starting to eat all the sugars. All the yeast will be in there attacking these sugars. And when I look at this again tomorrow in the closet, it'll look like a war's going on in there, with just tons of yeast swirling in a violent storm, eating all the sugars. Drop one vial in. And this is British ale yeast. There we go. So after I put the pitchable yeast in there and stirred it a little bit with a thief, I also like to just put some foil on the end of it with some saran wrap and really give it a good shaking. I do this for about 3 to 4 minutes just to really activate that yeast. I'd say the whole setup of the first night, getting your wort, everything transferred into the primary fermenter, is the longest part of the process of homebrewing. It takes a few hours. Blood, sweat, and tears go into this. It makes you appreciate it even more when you take a sip of that first cold ale. Once you get it all shaken up real nice, you take your plug with the airlock, put a little bit of water in that, and put this into the top. And after 12 to 36 hours, when this yeast starts really eating the sugars, you'll see this little plastic thing inside the airlock start floating at the top and releasing CO2. It'll just start, little puffs of CO2 will be coming out the top of this. Everything's ready to go. So now we want to put this in a cool, dark, dry place. And what I usually do is take a garbage bag and put it over this thing and cut a hole right there in the top of it. So there you have it. I have transferred the primary fermenter into the brew closet, and in 1 week we will switch the primary to the secondary fermenter that you see sitting behind that one right there. So I'll see you in a week. Okay, so it's day number 2. Now you can really see the fermentation taking place, releasing those little puffs of CO2. That's what you want it to look like. If it's not doing that, no bueno. And if you look right there, you can just see the yeast destroying all those sugars, devouring it. That's the storm I was talking about. That is the yeast eating all the sugars, fermenting the alcohol. Alright, it's week number 2, and I'm taking the beer from the primary fermenter now, and I'm transferring it into the secondary fermenter. I just finished sanitizing the secondary, and it's been dripping dry, so we're ready to go. What you want to do is take out the plug, and you're going to use this plug on the secondary fermenter as well. This is the siphon that you also need to sanitize very thoroughly. And what I did is I actually moved the primary fermenter probably 3 to 4 hours before I did this to let the sediment have time to settle again.